Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood, and I'm here to talk to you about the Sci-Fi Center. It's your Vegas home for science fiction, horror, and fantasy. From comic books, toys, and posters to movie screenings and live events, they've got you covered. Located at 900 Cameron Avenue, Suite B209, give them a call, 702-900-4335, or reach them at thescificenter.com.
Hey, what's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out.
Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Hey, it's Icarice, and I'm here to tell you about Hotcast for Podcasting. We are a podcasting studio located in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Hot 702.5 FM studios. You can book online at hot7025fm.com. Just click on Hotcast. You can book and find your times right there. Thank you for booking with Hotcast for Podcasting. Tune in now on hot7025fm.com.
Yo, it's Tavon Greatness Patterson. Want to listen to Hot 7025 on the go? Download the Hot 702.5 app on the Apple Store or Google Play Store if you got an Android like me.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Jones. Hey, Greg Deville was at it, man. Hey. If you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help. You wanna be a broker? You wanna be broke? You wanna be the joker? You wanna be the joker? You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams, and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help.
All right. Wednesday afternoon. 2.5fm.com. Greg Deville, good afternoon. Well, it's that time of day. Every Wednesday at high noon, we are live on the radio and want to talk to everybody this afternoon. We had an interesting topic on this afternoon that we want to talk about. And, we want to bring it live on the radio. Want to talk about something that we are facing in our communities. And I want to address it. And I have a studio guest. Many of you know I'm Greg Deville, the Wealth Builder right here. We talk wealth and real estate and how to build equity in your property and have a chance to create generational wealth. Your legacy matters. What are you doing that will leave a legacy? What will the 2 minutes be like when your day is, at the church or wherever you have your funeral? Your legacy matters. Where would that be? What does that look like? And I want to talk about that this afternoon, about some things that I believe is interesting subject matter. Many times we are having people that are, judging you and don't make a mistake and as if all their T's are crossed or their I's are dotted. He without sin, let him what? Cast the first stone. Well, it's an interesting topic. I've invited my engineer to discuss the subject matter today, and let's talk about what we're seeing from people, and as it relates to church folk. We have a lot of people judging people over their personal matter, and as if they don't have personal matters, and so I want to see. Get some feedback, and if you want to chime in, we're live on Facebook. If you want to chime in on this and bring your, add your thoughts. But I did want to talk a little bit about, there was a story in John chapter 8 where there was a woman accused of a sin, and all the Pharisees came to Jesus and said, well, the Mosaic law is that she be stoned, and so I don't know that physically stoned, but I think people stone people with their attitude toward one another, the disrespect that they show to one another, especially in the church. I've been ordained for some years. I can do weddings and funerals and services, and I've been a minister in the church. In fact, I tell a lot of people, church is my AA. Back in the day, I used to go to AACANA, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. But I found my spiritual man, the spirit man in me, was more spiritual than religious. But I'm afraid that we've come to now in the church that we judge each other critically and become so legalistic and condemning of one another. I feel like, I went through some things recently in my own personal life, and I just feel like sometimes the church really judges you over your decisions or whatever happens in life, as if, the matter is at their home isn't filed in some instances. There was a woman, the Samaritan woman, who was at a well, and Jesus showed up. And people judged her because she had 5 husbands and was living with a man at that time. And Jesus offered her some water. She's at the well. And she asked Jesus, don't you know who I am? I'm a sinner woman. And like this woman who in John 8 and the woman in John chapter 4, these 2 women had been accused of some stuff. And the church would judge them based on the accusations, and though it may have been a real reality. But who are we to judge? Who are we to point the finger and say that your sin is worse than mine? The difference is I'm a public figure in the community. I'm live radio every week and twice a week, and more people may know me than know you, and so my stuff may get out differently than yours. The difference is my stuff is public and yours ain't, and you tend to make it more public by your comments. So I wanted to talk about it, and I invited my engineer Ikaris to speak on it with me as well. Let's tackle the matter today, and let's talk about where people judge you on your past, or even in situations. So let me welcome to the studio my engineer Ikaris.
Hello there.
Hello, good afternoon, E. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty fantastic. How about yourself?
I feel great. I wanted to address something that I feel people are it just raised the awareness, about this judging and people make mistakes, right? And
mistakes though.
Well, okay. What do you classify it? I say make mistakes or
they do things that would be considered against, and not the Bible necessarily, but against what the church says you should or should not do. Okay,
elaborate on that.
I think that there's like unspoken rules. We can talk about something light, like it used to be women couldn't wear pants to church.
Yep. Okay, right.
I definitely was the one. I definitely was the one.
He was that member.
And the youth choir was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm wearing pants. Okay. But just because. Yeah. Because why? Mm-hmm. And people, the ladies would, they whispering on the front row, the mother's board, and whomever else. And it was just, it's just like they have all these rules.
Yeah.
And it's not even that it's exactly stated in the Bible. It's sometimes it's just a congregational rule.
Yeah, and it becomes
and then they judge you.
Yeah, it becomes one of those organizations who, this is how the leader of the organization saw it, that women shouldn't, and the scripture came because women shouldn't wear anything pertaining to a man. That's what the scriptures pertaining to a man. So it was just.
And didn't men used to wear dresses?
Well, so it wasn't considered a dress.
See,
it was
who determined when it was going to be called a dress and when it wasn't.
Maybe when they put the elastic around the waist, or maybe because they were a garment. It was a whole garment, right? It wasn't just a skirt type. But again, you make a valid point. So when the pants came, I guess it was addressed toward the men, and women just. Again, even with the lipstick, right? You had women who the pastors would talk about women
who wore red lipstick,
wore lipstick,
or red polish,
Right. Okay, and they called it Jezebel, right? It was like a Jezebel spirit, like. But even so, when somebody would make a sin and the church would be aware, they would what they call sit you down, right? And then you'd have to sit on the front row for a year, and the humiliation of, and the church still much does this in the church world
today.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, I mean, you may not literally sit on the front row or get called out on the rug, right? But I think towards one another. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he was mentioning about how, the church, kind of set him out. He stopped going because, he felt the people was judging him. He said, Deville, I just don't go to church no more. He said, I'm uncomfortable. And I said, well, you probably could join a lot of people who stopped going to church because they felt like they were being judged over whatever decision they made in their life, whether it was divorce or going to another church. You leave that church, they feel like you just backslid. You go to another church, like, yeah, he done left the fold.
Right. and that used to be a thing back in the day. I remember when I was probably about 3. We went to this one church. Yeah. And then the pastor, shout out to, the late Reverend A.J. Thompson. He opened a new church, Victory Missionary Baptist Church.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember we were like in a small section of the church, and then the big church got built. There's like a picture of me. I'm like 3, like standing in the new church by myself.
Yeah.
And the people from the old church, they had words because they're like, "Oh, you leaving this church to go to this new church?" And and I'm a kid. I remember this. Yeah. So
right.
I think that sometimes too. I don't think the church folks know how impressionable they are to younger kids who pay attention because they're there. We're there at church with our parents, so we hear everything, and they're just judgy. It's too much.
Yeah.
And it really needs some regulation. And they say, oh, you're supposed to judge. You're not supposed to judge. You're not supposed to do this. And
I think some people would beg to differ that you should judge. And I've heard some preachers' wives say, no, I'm here to judge. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and then I'm expose it. And again, we should live a life that's pleasing before God, right? And but if someone does something contrary, like they don't, right? As if they don't do anything that's contrary. Like, we just don't know it. You got your little, proclivities, and the difference is nobody sees theirs. But soon as yours come out, they judge you and where you are, on something that you've done or you got. Because I recently got divorced a couple of years ago, and I don't know. I feel like the church kind of outs you on that.
Right.
The church frowns on you. It's like, I noticed the support a lot of times are not from the church. Although the church wasn't necessarily in real estate, as a real estate broker in real estate, most of my business didn't come from church.
Right.
most of my business came from the outside of the church because people in the church had credit issues. Ain't paid their
judging
bills.
them people in the church?
I'm not judging. I'm
No,
just saying what we deal
kidding.
with. Well, that's a fact though. It's not a judgment. It's a fact because most people, my business really came from radio and marketing, right? From other avenues. But I noticed the church had more challenges, but they were the first one to judge everybody else.
Right. And I think I think we kind of spoke about this a little bit offline, but I think it's kind of a circle, and a trickle down effect. So the people who cannot afford to purchase a home, who are in the church, right, they have bad credit. They don't want to go to you, whomever, not you necessarily.
Yeah, right. I get
they don't
you.
want to go to the realtor from the church because now they get to see their credit. Now they get to see what the faults are. And then now they project and say, hey, he's going to judge me. So they would rather just pay rent forever instead of buying a home from your church, your fellow church realtor that sits right next to you on the pew because they don't want to be judged. And it just kind of goes in a circle.
And it's funny because I tend to be transparent. I had credit issues, and I think that's helped a lot of people in that I've had credit challenges and I made some foolish decisions. In fact, I talk about it in my new book about financial literacy, right? And how wasn't smart. I told a story once how I had gotten this weekend and bought new clothes. We go to church, we was clean. And then Monday morning, the gas man showed up and I didn't have the money to pay. So he says, I'm here to collect or disconnect. And I went and I said, give me one moment. I went back and I was like, Lord, you said all my needs are met according to your riches and glory. And you said, God, that I would be blessed above and not beneath. And I felt the Holy Spirit say, but I gave you the money, but you went to the mall, right? You used the money that was made for the debt. And I went the wrong direction with the money. And so that's just lack of wisdom on how to move when it comes to financial debt.
But over time you learn.
But I've learned.
You know what? I need
Yeah.
to, be more strategic when it comes to financially planning.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about judging within the church, it's interesting because I used to be very much involved in the church. Okay. I was the vice president of the choir, of the youth choir.
You sing?
I can sing actually. I just don't prefer to sing. I just,
right.
but I can sing.
Okay.
I used to be the vice president of the youth choir. I used to do the announcements at church.
Okay.
At Victory Missionary Baptist Church.
Okay.
And so there was a time where I was probably in my mid-20s probably. Yeah. And and you know what? This is going to be real transparent. It's really going to out some people. So just be prepared. Okay. So there was this rumor. I remember going to the salon. It was a rumor that my pastor was having an affair with someone. Okay. And I was like, there's no way. Yeah. Like, I'm really close to the pastor. The pastor calls us all the time. And, it couldn't be. Right. I would never, you guys need to stop with all of this talking and judging and all that. Mm-hmm. And there was a time where I went to go get sushi. And we had ordered sushi just to pick up. And I went in to get it. And I was like, oh, we could just eat here because it wasn't busy. Yeah. And I walked in and the pastor was there with the person that they were talking about. Oh. Okay. Who he was allegedly having this affair with. Mm-hmm. And there was also a kid there. So the Sunday before, or probably was Bible study, there was a lesson about adultery. Okay. And how you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Okay. None of that should happen. Right? Absolutely. Correct. Now I go eat sushi. Okay. And I walk in on this and I'm heartbroken.
But nothing's happening. They're just
no, it's nothing like sexually happening, but I could tell by the mannerisms. Wow. And then too, when I walked in, he was trying to cover. He saw me. He was like, I'm like, dude, it's us. This is only me and you in here. Okay. So what is going on? Yeah. He's gone. He rest his soul. Okay. But I think that at that point, I realized that church people say things, but they don't actually live by that. And I was so young and so impressionable at that time. Right. I was heartbroken. I was like, man, forget this church. You just preaching to everybody about this. I walk in and see this, and there's no, like there's no repercussions for this. There's no like what happens to you, because at first I'm not gonna go and tell everybody in the world that.
Right.
While he was alive, at least. But I did tell him, after the fact. But I think that there are times that you can, you get in situations and, you as a church, as a person who's a leader of a church.
Okay.
And you make mistakes like you started off with.
Yeah.
And instead of addressing the mistake, you just continue on with the mistake and never make any corrections. And now people, feel some type of way about that, or they feel some type of way about you telling them what to do differently.
Yeah.
So I think judging can come from various ways.
But I want to ask you this on that note. So did it make you not go back to church?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't want to go back?
And I remember my grandfather asked me.
So you were young at this time.
I was mid-20s.
Mid-20s.
And the thing is that that sparked something for me.
Okay.
It sparked me I studied 10 religions for 3 years.
Okay.
I went to Holy Lands, everything, because I was like, math here is not mathing. It's not mathing, especially if this is how things are run. And I have my own, thoughts and views about what I learned and what the truth is. But I want people to figure out that stuff on their own. I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to be. I don't want to influence anyone. If you ask me a question about something, I'll answer it based off of my findings.
Right. Right.
But I just think that that definitely did spark something. It made me question a whole lot of things. But even something as little as like we talked about before, women wearing pants at church, or red lipstick, or anything. Or if you talk to someone at the church, and or maybe talk to a boy at the church, like these mothers will say that you're doing something that's not even happening. Like those are some things that happen in church.
So I think a lot of things that we aren't aware of that. I mean, when I got a license to minister back in '91, my pastor told me first. He said, young man, I'm gonna give you this license to minister. He said, but remember, you're a man first, and how you handle your manhood can mess up your ministry, right? And so if you let you out to dinner and you're not, and you married and you out with somebody, that could affect your ministry. So you have to be careful how you conduct yourself, right? Don't let that be, the Bible says, don't let your good be evil spoken of, right? So we want to be careful how you live as a minister, how you conduct, because there are other peoples who, like you said, since then you haven't gone to church. So
no, I've gone to church.
Not committed
and
so
not
much.
To that. I've gone to that church, but only for funerals.
Okay,
but
but you're no longer involved because you were involved.
But it's not necessarily from that. It's from what I ended up learning after that bit of heartbreak. So after that happened, and me going to go study. All of these different religions, the origins of the Bible, who wrote the Bible, all of these things, what really happened at the Vatican. I went to the Vatican. I saw the Pope. I went to these different holy lands where they had these wars and everything. So it wasn't that incident in itself that made me not go to church. It was what made me question what I was being taught.
Okay.
And I needed to find out for myself what was the truth.
Okay.
And in that, and in those findings, I found out some truths.
So is it fair to say a preacher is like a mailman? Let me give this analogy. He delivers. He's not responsible for the package. So let me finish elaborating on this point, because you have to share from the word, but he also got to live it too, right? Now, what I'm sharing, because you mentioned a couple weeks prior to you running into, you guys had just went over something in adultery, right? And so we understand that there are scriptures that we have to, even as ministers, we have to face the fact. It's the facts are facts. Now, you can't keep your eye on another man. We have to know that as he delivers the word, because even as going through the divorce, sometimes when I'm delivering the word, it's like people looking upside my head, like how you gonna
use side eye, huh?
Yeah, and it's like pushing a wheelbarrow without a wheel. with cement in it. Sometimes people can give you that cold, and they can be so judgmental when you're really just someone to deliver a message. I got to live it too. I can tell you about paying your bills, but I ain't paying my bills, right?
But I think that what I know about this particular pastor is that he was probably was one of the most dynamic, world-renowned speakers.
Okay, he's
ever.
still a man, but he's still a man.
And I think that what should have happened was, he should not have been a pastor. He should have been a speaker.
Okay, that's an interesting front to be a speaker, not a pastor.
Right. And I think that's like, there's a lot of motivational speakers.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you become a pastor, you have a social obligation.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
You have a moral obligation to your congregation to live based off of what you are interpreting from the Bible. So I think that there should be more people who can teach you certain things from the Bible, because this dude is phenomenal.
Okay.
Like, seriously phenomenal. Even after my findings.
Your encounter with
Right.
this situation. I think people judge people, and again, I agree with you 100% that as a pastor you should live a certain life, but if you got caught into your flesh, if you allowed your flesh to run away with you, because we know a mind is the mindset, right? So sometimes we can entertain things over here and get caught up.
I think that's
I don't think it's an accident.
I think it's human nature, but I mean, I can make a decision if I'm going to be faithful to my husband or if I'm going to put myself in a situation where I could not, right? So I'd put myself in situations where I'm not going to do that, and I can consciously make a decision to say that's just not my thing.
Right.
However, people get caught in certain situations, and I feel like there should be a level of forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
I feel like as a human being, pastors being human, like they can make bad decisions.
Yeah.
But what's the consequence of the bad decision to the congregation? But that's my question.
But we use the adultery as the only thing. There's so many gluttony.
Yeah,
there's so many
all those things.
There's so many other. We got
these pastors trying to raise money in the offerings in the church to buy private jets. Like what?
Okay,
sir.
But there are just so many things that.
Yes.
And we always think adultery is like the most unforgivable.
I think that's the way women look at it. Yes.
Okay.
Women look at that and be like, yeah. You can't even lead your family properly. It's not just that you committed adultery. It's that you committed adultery from your family, your wife, your kids, your congregation, the deacon board, the deaconesses, the mother's board, the usher. Like you cheating on everybody now because it's not just you and that family. Okay. So I think that's where it becomes a little bit of a different circumstance.
So there's a lot of different sins. We know that Jesus said he that's without sin, no matter if it was adultery, because this woman in John chapter 8 was accused of adultery in the Bible, and he talked about that she had, but Jesus, even with the woman in John chapter 4, people judged her like as if their T's are crossed all the time. But she had 5 husbands and living with a man, right? She had been married 5 times and now she's living with a man, but Jesus forgave her. And I think that we should learn to forgive one another and let there be grace. I wrote something down, grace and personal accountability. Accept the fact when something went wrong, right? Don't shun it as if you didn't, but there are so many things that not paying your bill. The Bible says in business, let's be mean. We should be responsible even in that area, right? But we neglect, and I credit bad, but we so quick to oust people instead of being graceful toward people. And so I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about, because my friend was saying this morning how he felt the ministry had really, and his wasn't maybe adultery. I don't know, whatever it was, but it's how people can treat you. When you're in the ministry, it could be so cold. Sometimes I feel like people outside of the ministry can be more welcoming.
Can we talk about the men in the Bible who committed adultery? Okay. Because we're not going to sit on the ladies just like that. Okay. Because I think it's important to understand, like, King David,
Yeah,
who
okay.
committed adultery, Solomon,
Yeah.
who committed adultery, Gomer, who's listening to in the Bible as well, the prophet, Abraham.
So you Googled all the people in the Bible committed adultery.
No, what I'm saying is
Okay.
that like this is a thing. So what happens? So what happened to these people?
Okay.
What happened to them?
Okay.
They committed adultery. We know they committed adultery. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
And then what? We still talk about it.
We still talk about
People
it.
moving on. People moving along.
But
But why is it that in our current state,
yeah.
there is a situation that may happen? Like I'm saying, how does the church forgive and not judge? Like how does that transition work?
And that's something I wanted to kind of find out by discussing it. Is I think if we learn in our own lives, because I've heard of pastors and leaders and regular people, not just pastors, but life went on, as you stated, these people in the Bible, but we hold against them as if, we don't have any sin. I think grace has to come in, and that's what the New Testament is under grace, right? Because the Mosaic law was, if you was caught in sin, death was the deal.
The New Testament has a whole lot of contradictions from the Old Testament.
Well, so we're under grace now, though. So that was the law in the Old Testament, right? So we're under grace. Jesus came, and now we're under grace. So I just want to see grace for people. I mean, granted, you make a mistake, and people make you live it so long. It's like, at what point do we let that go? Like, forgive one another and move on. And it's like the church is harsh, a little more difficult from the church than the regular people, the world, they just move along with it, right? It's but the church can be so critical.
It's difficult to be a human being in a church.
Yeah,
because they expect you to be someone else. And you know what, listen, didn't Jesus die for my sins? Like, let's really talk about this. Let's have real conversations about this was all planned out. God already knew that these indiscretions were going to happen. So why you mad at me when this was already planned out? Okay, so there's so many conversations. There's so many things that we could discuss. But the problem is that they'll understand that millennials, Gen Zers are not going to go to church anymore because, first of all, y'all too judgy.
Yeah, it's
second of
like
all,
clicking out of it.
You're not explaining the word properly. You're explaining it like a dictator and not like sharing what the actual word says. You're saying it to implicate what you've discussed from your religion, whether it be Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's some challenges out there, and the thing is that I don't think that you have to go to church. You can fellowship, and the Bible says you should fellowship. I can go fellowship with 2 or 3 people, and we can talk. We have church right now. Okay, I'll give you a couple scriptures and a couple of amens, and we're good.
Well, I think forsaking not the assembling of ourselves together. I think in unity He will command the blessings. I think it's important that we fellowship with one another.
We can fellowship in small groups.
No, but I think the church is needed. I believe the church is needed. I believe it's great to get out from your comfort zone and get out and mingle with one another and fellowship together. 2 fellas in the ship, right? You can get out.
Have you seen this TikTok trend where there was a lady, she was calling their churches and she was asking them for milk to feed her infant. Infant child.
Okay.
And so she called the church and she said, "Hey, I just need milk. I don't need money. I don't need anything. I just need milk." They're like, "Oh, well, we don't do that."
Oh.
This is all over TikTok now.
Oh, wow.
So it grew. And so she calls all the churches, okay? Like 80% of the churches said they could not help. They don't have a program to help you get milk. And I'm thinking, if I ran a church, and somebody called me asking me for milk for their kid, I'm going to go buy the milk.
Yeah, right.
Even if it's out of my own pocket.
Right,
like,
right.
Like, what are we doing? So anyway, she did the social experiment, called all of these churches. The churches decided they wanted to respond. Oh. Okay, so the churches respond. You guys can just go and pull this up on TikTok. It's probably on Instagram now too. But so the churches respond without any accountability. Nothing. Saying that this is the witch and she's the devil and she's this and that for calling the churches and asking them these questions.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, where is the accountability? So that brings me back to why millennials and Gen Zers don't want to go to church. They're not being helpful. The things that we may have had in the past, like a benevolent fund or a bereavement fund or something like that, those things are no longer applicable in most churches.
Now, it's funny you would say that because there's a scripture that says they will know you are my disciples by the love you have one to another.
Right, but we can be that without going to the church. That's what I'm saying.
I agree, but I was just responding to the lady. They know, well, she expected you to be a disciple of Christ by giving, even if it was just an experiment, right, to see how many churches would. Because I've been in situations where the churches come through. Yeah, and it wasn't my church.
Yeah, the church may very well come through when it comes to a benevolent situation, right? Let's say, like, my grandfather was the chairman of the deacon board, and over the deacons for the city for quite a period of time. Okay. So I knew that people would call, or they would have to fill out a form if maybe they needed their rent or something paid. Let's say that, right? So they would go through a whole process, go through a meeting, vote, do all of this. Okay, I understand that for a larger dollar amount. If you're asking the church for some milk,
that's a bit much. That's Well,
like me as the person answering the call, I'm going to get you some milk.
Right. In fact,
like, what are we doing? Right.
Yeah,
like, what are we doing? So I should not have to go through a process like that for something so small.
But you got to understand from the church's perspective how many people call the church and so many fraud the church with needing and wanting and desiring. And then it's hard to sometimes decipher who's real, but some milk is a bit much.
Let's talk about
now the rent.
We're talking about milk.
Talk about
the rent is a process, right?
The light bill. Well, I pay your light bill because I got an address for it. Your name is on it. Your ID matches it, so no problem. In fact,
I think churches.
But
the milk is $10.
Yeah, even if the milk was $30,
right?
At the end of the day,
So my problem is that there should be, and then too, oftentimes you go to a church and the door is locked. Like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing here?
Well, in that defense, I know today, people are so easy to walk up in the church.
You know how many times I walked into a Catholic church and the door was locked?
Probably never.
Never.
Yeah.
And I've gone to plenty.
Yeah.
Not one time.
Okay, and I don't know about how we living in today. I haven't walked up to any lately in the last, because now church shootings and church people are so crazy. Just the other day, the account of the man, killing at the college, recently, and just so many people are just angry.
That's a president problem.
And even with the church, kind of want to talk about the church, and we'll close it out. But I wanted to talk again how the church needs to show up. Stop being so judgmental in this, as we're in 2026.
In all things. If it's a way, especially if you want Gen Zers and millennials to come back to church, don't judge them about if they have a certain sweater on. Who cares?
Or got a hat on.
Let them just be them and come to church. I think that's a whole thing too. Now if I decide as a Gen Zer, I'm used to just being who I am, being myself. And if I walk into a church and they're judging me for my regular casual attire, well, why can't I come to church like this? So it's definitely some things that need to be adjusted.
Right. And as church members, I think it's important that as we're in 2026, let's look at it. You know what? Woe is me. I stand in the need of prayer, right? I'm the one, I come here for me, not to, hey, I understand my brother going through, and I want to certainly have empathy for him and concern and prayer for them. But again, I don't want to judge people. Because that's what I've been having to deal with lately. And I kind of want to talk about it. We shouldn't be like that. We should come to a place where we can understand he forgave us. How many things you did that he forgave you for, but you can't. I got a sister mad at me over something I did. I don't remember doing, but she said I did 20 years ago, but still angry today, but go to church every Sunday. Like, how do you not let the love of God in your heart, and you at church, you work the usher board or whatever you do, but then it makes me question your discipleship, because the disciple is one that follows Jesus. Jesus loved these women that were at the well. Jesus loved the sinner. He hated the sin, but he loved the sinner.
He loved the ladies.
So again,
whether they were
he forgave
whether they
men.
were ladies of the day or night.
It didn't matter. He forgave the sin. He loved the people of God, and he saw them as people of God. And so he came here to serve. And so if we're going to be leaders in this year, well, let's serve and let's be more prayerful and mindful toward one another. Because I remember, people looking upside your head and over what you did. Don't judge lest ye be judged, right? and work out your own soul salvation, right? So just kind of want to talk about that because that's what I'm seeing in the church a lot.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that a lot in church. And if you go to another church and all of a sudden you're a sinner because you don't belong here no more and all of that. So just kind of want to talk about that and some feedback from you on it. And so good stuff.
Definitely got some risky feedback.
Yeah, that's good. You got some risky. Give me one of the feedback you found.
I'm just saying those are some of the feedback that I gave was a little bit of risky. But I think that it's valid. I think that the church is going to have to stop being so judgmental in all things.
Give account.
Yeah, and then hold yourself accountable to being a better church.
That's right.
Hold yourself accountable to being better, a better congregation, a better flock of people, whatever it is that y'all call yourselves.
Yeah,
because it's gonna be challenging for you to build up a congregation in this day and time, especially with the ways that people can attend church now. Absolutely. Well, Las Vegas, we want to talk about that today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Greg Deville, the Wealth Builder. It's a new year. We're excited about it. And you just do your best to love on everybody and don't judge anybody, but accept people where they are in spite of what they've done. Make sure you dot your I's, you cross your T's so that you're not judged when you get to glory over looking over somebody else's shoulder. All right. Listen, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. We'll talk to you real soon. Until then, may God's best be yours. Take care.
Jones, hey, Greg Deville was at it, man. Hey, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help.